Daniel and Ashley Schwartz, were supposed to be Jalen Schwartz's protectors. They had adopted her, promising to give her a loving home, a future filled with warmth, care, and security. But instead of safety, Jalen found herself trapped in a nightmare, one that would ultimately lead to her cruel and agonizing death. What happened to this 8-year-old girl in the sweltering Texas heat was not an accident. It was a calculated, systematic act of cruelty, one that ended with Ashley sentenced to life in prison for capital murder and Daniel accepting an 18-year plea deal for manslaughter. The details of this case are as horrifying as they are heartbreaking. On August 29, 2020, first responders arrived at the Schwartz home in Odessa, Texas, to find Jalen unresponsive in the backyard. By the time they got there, rigor mortis had already set in, a chilling indication that she had been dead for hours. But it wasn't just the fact that she had passed. It was how she had died that sent shockwaves through the community. Jalen had been forced to jump on a trampoline in blistering heat for hours, deprived of food and water. The trampoline's surface had reached a staggering 110 degrees, and the ground below it measured an unbearable 150 degrees. The official cause of death? Dehydration and hyperthermia. A slow, excruciating way to die. For many, the immediate question was, how could this happen? Why would two adults entrusted with a child's care subject her to such torture? The answer, as revealed during the investigation and trial, was even more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. A pattern of abuse. As authorities delved deeper into Jalen's home life, they uncovered a grim reality. This wasn't an isolated incident. It was part of a consistent and brutal pattern of abuse that had been taking place for months. Jalen and her sister had been subjected to relentless punishments, many of which seemed designed to break them down physically and emotionally. According to testimony from Jalen's surviving sister, the trampoline wasn't just for play. It was a tool of control and suffering. The girls were frequently forced to jump on it for extended periods, especially in the scorching Texas heat. But that wasn't the worst of it. Other punishments included carrying heavy weights, writing lines repeatedly as a form of discipline, picking up dog feces with their bare hands, and even having their heads shaved as a form of humiliation. On the day of Jalen's death, her sister revealed that they had been ordered to jump on the trampoline for nearly 3 hours straight. They weren't given water, and when they were caught trying to drink from the dogs' water bowls, they were punished even further. The relentless exposure to the sun, combined with exhaustion and dehydration, became too much for Jalen's small body to handle. She collapsed, but instead of receiving help, she was left there to die in agony. The trial and sentencing. When the case went to trial, the evidence against Ashley Schwartz was overwhelming. Prosecutors argued that she had knowingly and willingly caused Jalen's death through repeated acts of cruelty. The forensic pathologist who examined Jalen's body testified that she had suffered extreme dehydration and heat exposure over a prolonged period. The prosecution presented gut-wrenching details, including the fact that even after she had died, her body continued to burn in the sun, a final testament to the unbearable conditions she had been subjected to. Ashley Schwartz chose to take the stand in her own defense, a move that some legal experts considered risky. She claimed that Jalen wasn't being punished, that she had access to water, and that she had willingly kept going outside to jump on the trampoline. But her testimony was quickly dismantled by forensic evidence and the heartbreaking accounts of Jalen's sister. The jury didn't buy her excuses. It took them only a short time to convict Ashley of capital murder. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Daniel Schwartz's plea deal. But what about Daniel Schwartz? His involvement in Jalen's death was just as sinister. Though the legal system ultimately treated him differently, prosecutors acknowledged that Daniel had been present for the abuse, that he had failed to intervene, and that he had played a role in enforcing these cruel punishments. However, proving intent, a necessary element for a murder conviction, was more difficult in his case.